Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I always like to remind our audience of just specific words that are mentioned in the Bible. And one of the scriptures that stick out to me today is if we delight ourselves in the Lord, He will give us the desires of our heart. That's a promise, and we know God keeps His promises. He keeps His promises, and I'm so glad about it. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, and we are assigned the task of rendering hope, encouragement, and inspiration to the whole wide world, and we're so glad about it. God has been faithful to us to do that. And this is our 102 day. 102 days. Let me let that sink in. 102 consecutive days that God has allowed us to come on and render hope, encouragement, and inspiration on this platform, acknowledged as Project 365, where we bring it 365 days in this year. And I don't know about next year. Let's get through this year first. Let's get through this year. Well, let me bring in my co-host.
Hello, everyone. I'm Takara Swan, for those of you who do not know, and I am so happy to be here. I can believe it, but I can't believe that we have done 102 days. That's like, we're almost halfway there, I feel like. So I'm just so happy and blessed to be here on this platform, and we have an amazing guest for you today. But before she shares her topic, I just want to remind everyone, please go to our YouTube page and subscribe, share, like, hit that notification bell so that you know every time we make a new post. We can't do it without you, and we want you to be part of our team. So please go to YouTube and subscribe.
Great. We definitely need them to be a part of our team. And we are so appreciative of those that have already gone to the YouTube channel and have subscribed. Well, today, as Takira said, we have a great guest for you. And the topic we're going to talk about today are our young Black young ladies. Oh my God, we know without a doubt that our young ladies need hope. They need to be encouraged. They need to be inspired. They need to be developed. They need mentoring. They need to be loved and show how to love, be loved and show how to love. And not just that, our guest actually connects young ladies from Africa with our young ladies from the United States of America. That is such a blessing. And not just a blessing, but it is good that she stepped up to the plate and said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Now I said we can talk a good game, but we have to stop talking and do the work. And I pray that this message today will inspire, will encourage, and it will render hope to those that want to be a part, desire to be a part. And she's going to share with us how we can make that happen. And on that note, Dawnita, we just want to bring you in, Dawnita Brown, and share with us all that you can and leave with us a know-how to get in contact with you so that we can do the work as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Miss Portia. I'm so grateful to be here. And I just want to say, you ladies are awesome already. 102 days. I don't know. I mean, you have a little bit ahead of you, but God will certainly provide. If he gives you a vision, he will make provision. So I am so certain of that. And when you shared Psalm 37:4, that's one of my favorite scriptures. If we delight ourselves in God, he will give us the desires of our heart. And you may not know how it's going to come. And sometimes it comes a roundabout way. It's kind of like we're detoured to dream. We're detoured to get those things that we want. And it doesn't look like we think it's going to look. So, before I get to BGGE, I just want to share, Black Girls Global Exchange, I want to share my story of how I got there and how God has always had his hand on me, even when I wasn't living for him. I am born and raised in Baltimore City, inner city, so proper city, not Baltimore County, not the surrounding counties, Baltimore City. I was born and raised on Riggs Avenue, Riggs and Dukeland, for those of you that are from Baltimore, in West Baltimore, Poplar Grove. And my paternal side of my family was in West, and my maternal side was in East. So I'm kind of from over East and over West. So I always attended school in East Baltimore. So Northwood Elementary School, we called it Chickapin, but it's Chinquapin Middle School, and Western High School, only the best. And when I was younger, I excelled academically always, and gifted and talented, education and everything. But socially, I was inept. Like, I chose the wrong guys, right? And I did everything that I wanted to do. And it wasn't until 2002 when I started living for God. When I graduated high school in 1991, I attended Hampton University, and my mom said, if you want to stay there, you're going to have to take out some loans and help me out, because my dad had left to pursue acting in LA in 1988. So it's kind of like now my mom is helping. My dad is at that time a struggling actor. He's doing very well now. And so we just did what we had to do. So I went to Hampton on a wing and a prayer, and I didn't stay the whole time. I came home, I transferred to Towson University. But when I transferred to Towson University, I got a job. I was 20 years old, and I got my first job, real job. Like, I worked at McDonald's at 16 for a couple of weeks, and they were like, you have to wash the baseboards, look busy and all this. And I was like, yeah, no, this is not me. And so in 1993, at age 20, I got a job with the federal government. It was through a stay in school program. And so I worked for an agency called General Services Administration. And so I did that. I was in the same federal building as my mom, the Fallon Federal Building. She worked for Internal Revenue Service. And I started as a grade 3. If you're familiar with the government scales, general schedule scales, GS. So it goes from 3, I believe, to 15. So I started as a grade 3, and I was working, and I was a stay in school student doing everything. I got a car. I got a cool Mazda MX-6. So I was able to go to Hampton. Like, nobody knew that I really did not graduate from Hampton, because I was down there every weekend and for everything. So I am really Hampton alum, but so I was able, I was good. I was 20. I was making good money, relatively speaking. And I worked for the federal government until 2002. It was a time, during that time when I graduated undergrad, in order for me to stay in the stay in school program, I had to be in school. So I wasn't considering a master's program at that time, but I was like, oh, well, I don't want to not work, not because I would have to come in through civil service, take tests and all that. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, well, I'll just find a master's program. So I found a master's program at Towson University, Instructional Technology, which is designing curriculum. And so I did that, and I was doing my master's program. I was working, and then because they hired me full time. And so I was making really good money. When I got my master's degree, they put me on a scale. So it was a 9, 11, 12 scale. Now, I told you 15 is the top. So at that time, I'm in my 20s, I'm a 12, I'm making good money, like $50-some thousand, which is, that's good relatively, right? So at that point in 2002, I was a grade 12, had my own office, had all these things. I was the building manager for 2 historical federal buildings in downtown Baltimore. So the appraisal stores and the custom house. And I mean, I did my job well, but I hated it. It was like, I know God has so much more for me to do, and this is not fueling me at all, And so I decided to resign in 2002 from the federal government as a grade 12, step 2. And this was the first time that my mom and I kind of really bumped heads. Like, she called me out of my name and everything. What's wrong with you? You stupid. You lost your mind. You blah, 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 And she, at that time, she was working for Internal Revenue Service, like I said, and she was a grade 11. So it's like, you started as a 3, now 12, and you want to go. Why don't you just take a leave of absence? And I said, you know what, Mom? I'm stepping out on faith. God has not called, I just want to go, right? And so I did. And so I left, and then I did another master's program, publications design at University of Baltimore, because I was very interested in graphic design and, all those things. And at the time, even before I resigned, I took some classes at USDA graduate school for web design and all. My agency actually paid for it. Like, they really value me as an employee. And so they're like, whatever, what do you want? You know? And so I left. And again, like I said, my mom, she just lost it. And I really believed in my heart that I would be okay. So like, I resigned. I didn't take a leave of absence or anything. So that was 2002. I get a part-time job with the leadership. Now, all throughout this time, I started in 2001, I think, or two, one of my best friends, we started an organization called Girls Believe. And Believe is an acronym for balance, excellence, leadership, integrity, education, vocation, and empowerment. And we partnered with Towson University Women's Center. And I believe we probably had one of the first large girls conferences in the city. And it was award winning and everything. And so we did that. So I think that started my real true work. I mean, although I had done some other stuff, I worked with Dunbar Middle School with mentoring, Northeast Middle School. So all throughout, I had been mentoring. And the reason why I mentored is because when I was that little girl, like I said, I did very well in school, but I didn't have a mentor. But I've always wanted to help. In 8th grade, I was a peer counselor, all of that. So we started Girls Believe. So I'm really working with girls hands-on, partnered with Towson University Women's Center. So we're doing all this 2001, 2. I get a job with an organization when I resigned from the government. I get a job with the leadership, and the leadership is under GBC, the Greater Baltimore Committee. And so one of my mentors, that I'm just talking about the importance of having mentors, one of my mentors had graduated from the leadership program. And so she called me the summer that I resigned, and she said, there's a part-time job at the leadership. And she sent me over the information. It was like 3 days a week, and it paid like $11. And I was like, Helen, no, like $11, you know. She said, listen, it's not you. What she said, what are you making now? I was like, nothing. She was like, my point exactly. She said, and sometimes it's not about what you earn, it's about the connections that you make, and they're invaluable. You cannot put a price on those. And so I started working for the GBC leadership. And when I tell you that I met so many incredible people, and my executive director at the time, he just instilled, Jan Hubalt is amazing. He's amazing. I learned so much under him. I didn't even know he was a PhD at the time, but he just poured so much into me. He and his assistant director, Trisha Ellis, and they supported me. I worked 3 days a week there. And during that time, I also freelance graphic design. I consulted doing youth programming, all of these things. And so in 2008, I was like, you know what? Something has to give. Like, I'm doing all these different things to make ends meet, and I'm getting burned out. I just can't do it. And so I was like, I need a full-time job, one income. And so I got a job with an organization. It's an organization here that's good to be. It's good to be from, not a good place to be, because they work you like crazy and they really don't want to pay you. So in 2008, I was making less money working for this organization as senior level staff than I was when I had left the federal government in 2002. So I'm working and working and working. I'm like, this just does not make sense, like, at all. And so I worked for this agency for 90 days. They say, with 90 days, you know, you're on a probationary period, 90 days. So they want to see if you're a good fit for them as an employee. Well, I said, I want to see if you're a good fit for me as an employer. And the case was, you were not. So what I did, I reached out to some of my former government workers, my friends. I'm like, listen, is anything, y'all have anything? Because I can't do this. You know, it's just too much. I was like, I don't have a life. There's no flexibility. The one thing I did remember about federal government, you have flexibility. And I have been blessed to have flexibility and autonomy when I work. So it just so happened that there was a position that opened up in the same office that I had left in 2002. One of my former employees left. She was leaving. She was retiring. And so she told me, she said, one of my other friends, she was like, okay, there's an opening. She was like, apply. It's going to close in such and such days. So I applied. I got notification that I had been referred for an interview on my grandmother's birthday. So I took it as a sign. And this was during the inauguration in 2009, 8 or 9, inauguration of President Obama. And I'm right in Baltimore and couldn't get there because the agency that I was working for is like the plantation. You could not get let off of the plantation. So I was just like, all these things. So long story short, I get back to the office that I left in 2002. They had lifted whatever the requirements were. If you were a former employee, you had like 3 years reinstatement eligibility. But for whatever reason, I don't know, I was able to get back in. I was reinstated. I still had sick leave on the books. I got my, went back in as a grade 12 step 2, which my salary had increased from what I was making at the agency by $27,000.
But it still wasn't fulfilling.
No, well, that when I got back in, it wasn't fulfilling, but it was what I needed to take the step to get to a job that was fulfilling. So I got back into the government. So a friend called me about this job at another agency, which is CMS, where I started, and I was the wellness coordinator. I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working for the federal government, making 6 figures, doing what I want to do, creating programming around everything that I love, and I was still working with girls and all that. I always had a passion for girls, but I'm working and everything. And then I got a manager that I just could not, we just didn't work well together. And they said, you quit people, not jobs. So I quit her and went on to another position, which I had to get certified to do certain things. So the certification, at one of the certification sessions, I met this woman who had done the Peace Corps. And I had always had this dream of working internationally, but as an expat, as a government employee, because when you work, you get your salary, your cost of living allowance, which means that your money is your money. And I had already had in my mind what I was going to do with this money. Well, God had it another way. Anyway, I ended up joining the Peace Corps. I applied like right around the deadline. He just coordinated everything. Like, I got a tenant for my house, all of these things that I needed to move to this foreign land that I didn't know what it was going to be like. But it's like, I just felt like God calling me. So I go to Eswatini, and all of these things that kind of lined up. I go to Eswatini, I'm there, I'm volunteering. And God is always speaking to me because when you're there, the host families, they assign you names. So you have 2 host families, one doing pre-service training, one doing your permanent site. So in my pre-service training, they named me Selenzile. Selenzile means we've been expecting you. In my post site, they named me Fagile, which means you have arrived. So during my service, I did work with girls. I did a Swazi Girls Believe conference. So I, was able full circle bring everything that I had a passion for to this point. And during that time, a trailer for the movie Step came across my screen. And when I saw it, I was like, the girls here need to see this movie because they think America is the land of milk and honey, that we don't have struggles, that the girls that, they only see celebrities. They don't see girls that look like them that have the same struggles. So God gave me a vision to start Black Girls Global Exchange after all of my life. It's all of the connection. And I connected with another one of my dear friends, and it was just a vision to birth it. At first, I just wanted to bring the girls there to view the movie. I wanted to bring the movie there for my girls in the community to see, but we ended up morphing it into this big, big movement now. Black Girls Global Exchange is a movement. Black Girls Global Exchange is a peer learning and cross-cultural exchange movement that was birthed through me and Regina Sally, where girls collaborate from the US and Africa to tackle global issues that disproportionately affect us as Black girls and women. And we had 7 girls from cohort 1, and now we went to the virtual space where we were working with our girls over the past 6 months or so, our girls in Africa and our girls here. And so it's an amazing movement, but the reason why I had to tell my story, because God has always been weaving something in me, and he's always been directing my path and my steps, even when I didn't know. You know, he said the steps of a good woman are ordered, even when we're not living for him. And so now we have girls. I really want, I know I'm running out of time, but I want to read this letter from one of my girls, because we talk about the impact, right? And we talk about, that's what we want to do. And it's not about what we do as adults, because we could create stuff all day, but what impact is it making? And I always share my story with the girls, because sometimes we have to let go of what we want to do and really be open and listen and surrender. When I joined the Peace Corps, people thought I was crazy. Like, you're leaving a 6-figure paying job, and it's been 5 years, and I've not been employed in 5 years, and I've not wanted for anything. But I want to share this email from one of my Eswatini cohort ambassadors. Our girls are ambassadors. They're leadership ambassadors. They are awesome. But she says, "Hey, Ms. D, I know it's been a long minute, but I hope you and Ma are doing well. I have had the most stressful but rewarding 4 months of my life. I couldn't fully unpack everything that has happened so far if I was paid $1 million to do it. Long story short, I've been able to ground myself here, and now I can proudly say that I have gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable. Not that I don't shy away from things every now and then. Things still do get overwhelming. I do often think about how indebted I am to you and everything you have done for me through BGGE. I can confidently say that joining BGGE caused a paradigm shift that's allowed me to be the young woman that I am today, and I will continue to inspire, and it will continue to inspire me throughout my leadership journey." And she talked about everything that she's doing there, and she's actually looking at colleges. She's looking to go to Cornell or either University of Rochester. She's from Swaziland, right? The country is the smallest country in Africa. It's a very poverty-stricken country. And the difference between the girls there and the girls here, community service is part of the curriculum here. There, they focus a lot on academics, which means that learning about service and giving back was something that they really, really cherished. So that's what we're doing now with BGGE. We really want our girls to know that they can make a difference to change the narrative. Statistics show that we are disproportionately affected than any other race, sex, we are, like, across the board. And so that's our goal with Black Girls Global Exchange, is to have our girls change the narrative, to empower them, to give them a voice, and to give them a platform. And if anyone wants to learn more about BGGE, please follow our Facebook page at Black Girls Global Exchange. We have an IG page at Black Girls Global Exchange. And our website is www.blackgirlsglobalexchange.org. And everything, we have videos, we have testimonials, we have links to all of our exchange that we did in Africa. We actually celebrated our 3-year anniversary, and we're still going strong. And we're just so excited to see what God is going to do through Black Girls Global Exchange, because we want to pass the baton. We want it to be youth-led. We've given them the tools that they need to carry Black Girls Global Exchange on. And I'm a testimony of a Black girl from Baltimore City, right? Public schools, Baltimore public schools. But it takes a village. We hear so much negative news about Baltimore City public schools, but there are some teachers that are really trying and really pouring into these young people. So we had to all come together, stop finger pointing and blaming. We have to do the work as a collective. So thank you.
Yes, definitely we have to do it together. We definitely
That's
have to do
right.
it together. And I find that the change comes in our USA's young ladies, as well as change to the young ladies in Africa. So
Absolutely.
do you find that in that exchange, they're learning one way and the students from Africa are learning another way, but they're coming together collectively to make a broad change?
And the girls were so they in fact they were so excited because before we took the exchange in March of 2018, we did pre-exchange workshops in South Africa, Eswatini, and here in Baltimore. We did 8 weeks of pre-exchange workshops. So the girls were working on the same thing. So when they came together, they just felt like they had been knowing each other forever because they were working on the same cause. And they felt like they were sisters and they would look at each other. Because
Yeah.
if I have pictures of all of the girls together, you cannot distinguish one from like she's African, she's American, and when they came together they just had an instant bond, an
Wow.
instant connection.
Wow.
And so it's like, you look like me, we like the same music, we like the same dress, the same, the hair is the same. So yeah, for sure, we're more alike than we are different, and I think that we don't hear that enough.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And then even our girls here, when parents can begin to speak into their lives, don't try to be their sister per se, but we have to be their mothers, and encourage them until they get to a level that they can pat themselves on the back and say, I can do this. But just in our conversation prior to this segment, we talked about connecting, you and I connecting, my organization and your organization, and we connecting. So at some point, Project 365 will be not just Project 365, but Trophy of Life will be a part of your organization, and we can be in Africa. That's probably might be the only time that I get to Africa, but
And we're excited. The goal is that we wanted to connect because as a Peace Corps volunteer, of course, with COVID, they're not back they're not back at post, but we wanted to connect the girls from around the country here in the States with girls from around the continent. So I was based in Eswatini and South Africa. Well, Johannesburg was right there, right? But our goal is to touch various countries on the continent
wonderful,
and make that
wonderful.
connection.
So
Yeah.
I just look for me to send you some correspondence, so that we can connect and make that official, that change official.
Sounds good. We are ready when COVID, when we get all of that under control, we are so ready. We actually were planning to travel April of
Wow.
2020, and
Okay.
COVID hit. We had our cohort 2. We had 11 girls that we were working with, meeting with every Sunday at Lily Mae Carroll Jackson School for Girls, and we were ready. And
So
then COVID hit. So
So to our audience, when you see these young ladies on the street and doing a little bit of everything that they're big enough to do, pull them to the side. You may not want to speak to them in front of their other girlfriends, or it's a way that it's a plan that God will give you of how to do it, to approach them. And share this video with them, share her information with them, so that it may be something that you plant, but God would definitely have someone to water it, and he gives the increase. So share this information. It doesn't, what you do, you may not be able to even drive a car to go somewhere. You may not, it's many things you may not be able to do, but there are still many things that you can do to support.
yeah,
So what
and
do
so
you think, Takira?
Well, talk about your steps being ordered. I think everything that you've gone through and experienced in life really was to set you up for what you're doing now. And that's something I can greatly appreciate. I greatly appreciate you stepping out on faith. We even have a comment in the section saying it seems like your whole life was a faith move. And that's what it is. And that's what
and
it
that's
is,
why
you know.
that's why I know I took a little more time, but it doesn't this even though it's a powerful story of Black Girls Global Exchange and how it came to be, but for God to use me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have stayed with the federal government. None of it, but it's like, I have a plan for you. I have a plan for you. I have a plan for you. And I was just like, there is this quote by missionary Amy Carmichael. She wrote, often his call is to follow in paths we would not have chosen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would not have chosen any of this, but God chose me. And it's just like, take that first step. Now I'm a full-time caregiver to my mom, sole caregiver. Like I said, I've not worked. He even positioned me to transition seamlessly into this role because I was working. I'm telling you, I'd have been riddled with debt. I had 2 cars before I left, Cardinal, all of these things, but he does all things well. all things.
And I'm just so happy that you trusted him to order those steps. And one thing I really like about your organization is how it creates exposure for both groups of girls at a young age. Because things I've been exposed to in the world, like traveling overseas and just getting to know that, it's more to life than just what's in front of me. That started when I was 20. So I think that, exposing young girls, young Black girls and African girls at a young age to things that are outside of their community and outside of their norms just sets up their own path of, God using them to do whatever and changing their environment. Because at the end of the day, like we always say here, it's much bigger than us. And your organization is providing those steps to walk into something that is bigger than yourself. So I think that's the biggest thing I love about your organization. And I'm so happy you were here to come on the show today. I know that you have been an inspiration, and I hope that our viewers are listening to be encouraged not only to get involved with our organization and help young Black girls and young African girls that are outside of your norms, but also just to have courage to walk into who you're supposed to be and take that step of faith, because everything comes together full circle. Now, I do have to ask, so you said you went to Hampton University for a couple semesters and you had to transfer. Well, I too went to Hampton University for a couple semesters and I had to transfer. So I went to Morgan and I graduated from there. So I just want to know what freshman dorm did you stay in?
BC.
You were a BC cutie.
Yes. Yes, I stayed at BC. Yeah,
I did too. Every time I try to explain to people like how that culture is and how it's so amazing down there, like they just don't get it. And I was trying to tell my friends, my room is like under the stairs. And they're like, under the stairs. I'm like, it's a huge, like whole new world under the stairs. And that's where I stay. So you understand. So
yes,
it's really nice.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's such a small world. Yeah, I love Hampton. I love Hampton. And it's interesting because most of my, my dear friends are from Hampton. And I didn't travel until then too. I, did Florida with my best friend's family, but in terms of flying and being on a plane and everything, that didn't happen until I was older. So yeah, our youngest girl when we did it was 13. We took middle school girls from here. And then our youngest girl in Eswatini was 12 at the time.
Oh, that's good.
So if you look at our Facebook page, with our 3-year anniversary, our girls sent in their testimonies, like where were they then and where are they now? And how how BGGE has changed their lives. It's transforming. It's been transforming for them. And I'm so excited again, like I said, about what God is going to do through them to continue the movement. And we had to pivot more to a online platform. So the girls are really working on social media and doing, because it's artistic activism and service is what we do. So, creating videos and creating poetry and Step. Gary McCarter was the coach in the documentary Step. She's on our team. Tanae Thrower, she's with Baltimore City Public Schools. So we have a powerful group of women that we work with that really work alongside of myself and Regina to keep BGGE, the movement that God birthed through us. We were operating in big, bold faith. We needed over $100,000 for this exchange to happen, and we were able to raise it in 3 months. So if that's God, you know what I mean? That is God. That is God. And we could be here forever if I tell you the steps and how he just showed everything. He orchestrated, and sometimes it's arduous what you go through to get, but it's like birthing a baby. I've not done it myself, but I see what women go through when they birth, right? It seems like the most arduous situation, and you're pushing and pushing and pushing. And when it comes out, you look at it like, oh my baby, and that's how it was with Black Girls Global Exchange with BGGE. We had so many bumps in the road, but God, big bold faith.
He always works it out. Always works it out.
Big bold faith.
Well, thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thank you,
And
ladies,
thank you,
for having
viewers.
me.
Of course, of course. And viewers, go to her website. I put the website in the comment section to visit so you can support any way you feel necessary. And do you have anything else to add to it, Miss Portia?
The only thing I don't think I put it in the, yeah, we didn't put it in the comment section because you're my comment person. I can't do that, all that, what you call. But I think, Dawnita, you had one more endeavor that you were working on, the caregiver, something. What?
Yes, so I am a
Yeah, that.
full-time caregiver and I'm launching a business. I'm in the process now. I have merchandise that I'll be selling for caregivers, as well as starting a podcast, and that's all upcoming. But we recently did a panel discussion. I also have a support group for Black daughters caring for their mothers, and it's called the Binti Circle. And Binti means daughter in Swahili. And so God, again, it's like how he just, like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take it and go and run with it. And I'm just like, but
Someone has to do it, and we're just so grateful. And it sounds like your plate is full. So, audience, that's just another person to pray for. Pray for their strength. Pray that they hear with clarity. It's so much to pray for. When we bring messages of hope, encouragement, and inspiration to you, it's not just to be doing something. We do want to have you to be hopeful. We want to make sure you're encouraged, and we want to make sure that you're inspired. And we do that not just through words, but through prayer.
Yes.
What we can't do, we always know that God can do it. Don't forget, if you delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart.
Amen.
All right. Well, we shall see you on tomorrow. Love, peace, blessings, and all that. I love you. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.